Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day 101, I believe. Yes, day 101. Um, Yesterday I did a really bad job of summarizing Samuel, First Samuel 3 till 12. Today I'll try and do a little bit better. Effectively, Saul carries on he carries on basically. He was 30 when he became king, and he reigned for 42 years. So he was um, 72 after when he was no longer king. Uh, at this point, he selected like 3,000 troops to go and from the army, and split them between himself and his son. Um, Jonathan attacked and beat up Philistines at Geba, um, and they they were outnumbered by the Philistine army. Saul was supposed to wait for a certain amount of time. Samuel had instructed him to do so, but Samuel was not forthcoming. And so Saul then went and then burned the offering himself. Now, it was against the rules, it was against what God had told him to do. Um, and when Samuel eventually does come, Saul gives loads of excuses as to why um, he he burns the offerings himself, but Samuel effectively tells him he's lost the kingdom for this reason, and God has picked another, a man after his own heart. Now, this I think was interesting. It was already a distinction between Saul and the next king, who we know will be David, because Saul's, I guess, the description given of Saul was that he was handsome and taller than everyone else. Cool, great description, but those are physical things. Those are almost shallow things to base, a leader upon. David, the next guy, on the other hand, was a man after God's own heart. Nothing about his physicality, entirely that he loved the Lord. And I guess the thing for me was, which one do I want to be? Do I want to be someone that appeals to a fleshly, worldly, secular sense of success, of achievement? Or do I want to be one recognized as a man after God's own heart? I think the latter. Um, Israel then carries on with their fighting, but they are severely outnumbered, severely outpowered, because they don't even have swords. They only got like plows and picks and sickles, the tools of their trade as farmers, and as herdsmen. Um, as they're going into war, and only two that had a sword or a spear was Saul and Jonathan, which is kind of crazy. But Jonathan, comes up with a really interesting plan to uh, effectively take the Philistines by surprise. So he crosses over and sort of effectively shows himself to them, and this sort of catches them off guard, um, and um, they think that they are being attacked by all of Israel. Um, but in trying to come up to where Jonathan was, uh, he had effectively had high ground and killed many of the men that were coming. About 20 were killed, and this caused panic. Of course, it wasn't just this. Obviously, the Lord had causing them to panic amongst themselves. And effectively, Israel then defeats them. But Saul had made them give an oath that they weren't going to eat until he had full revenge. And Jonathan didn't know of this and had eaten a little bit of honey and was literally refreshed, was able to carry on fighting. Eventually, Saul has to, they have to figure out who has broken the oath, and they cast lots and they find out that it was Jonathan. Now, the other thing here, I think one of the judges we know made a similar oath that if God lets him win, whoever comes out of his household, he will kill, and it was his daughter. Um, Saul said, because Jonathan had eaten the honey, even though Jonathan didn't know, he was supposed to die. But the people stopped him, and Jonathan lived because Jonathan was, by his surprise attack, part of the reason why they won. And Saul didn't have to kill him. So I think I mentioned back then when that king did that, it wasn't a king, it was a judge. When he did that, I feel like he could have gone back on it because it was a stupid oath in similar fashion to Saul's. Um, and God doesn't even take human sacrifice. But again, this was a time when Israel was doing a madness anyway. And so there's a few recordings of Saul's his military successes. He does perform great deeds. He does defeat some of the enemies. But Philistines, effectively, he fought throughout his entire career as a king. And so that's 1:13 to 14. And I am going to sleep. Peace out. Tomorrow's readings are Psalm 15 to 17. And I feel like I'm not doing this justice, so tomorrow I think I'll do a bit more. I think I'll have to do a bit more study. And what I've started doing is listening in the YouVersion app in the morning, and then doing a second read before I stream. But even then, it's not enough. I don't think I'm not really getting deep. I think this is one of the problems with doing like a daily plan over the span of the entire Bible. So maybe next year I might break it down and just do a little bit less, maybe the Old Testament or the New Testament or something, so I can get a bit deeper. Because with life in as much as I'm getting a daily reading in, I'm not going as deep as I need to. So, yeah, there you go.